only. Eek. And my server is telling me that I am unstable. Well, I knew that from a long time ago, but so is the connection of my Wi-Fi. So if for some reason I get paused or dropped, bear with me, I'll do my best. All right, new year, new Wi-Fi needed apparently. Well, guys, welcome back to math class. And like I said, I want to try something new, something a little different. We're just going to brainstorm for a few minutes. So if you have a whiteboard that you're ready to write on, or you can type in the chat also. I'm just going to ask a couple of questions first. I'm going to see if anybody knows. I'm just going to, like I said, starting review here. I have my notes so that I remember these words too. But let's just do a little math vocabulary review. How about that? The first word I would like you to tell me, the word sum. If I give you the word sum, tell me what are some of the words that you could use instead of the word sum. The sum is an answer to a specific kind of problem. The sum of is there you go. I might even put this on everyone publicly. Here we go. Yes, now we're public. All right. Now you guys can see, there you go. The sum is the total of an addition problem. You're absolutely right. So if you were to give me all the words you can think of for addition, like if you're reading an addition word problem, what are some words that you might see for an addition word problem? Go ahead and think, yeah, answer, equivalent, answer, digits, a sum, add. What's another? I'm looking for some words that you could plug in for an addition problem. So you left everyone. Nope, not subtraction. Addition. Plus, yes, plus is another word. Plus is another word. Let me write this down. I'm going to show you my video that way, or point of view. Here we go. Hopefully it's still there. Yes, it's there. I'm looking for addition. Somebody said plus. And if you see the word sum, that also means add. So I'm looking for some synonyms. Oh, more than, yes, more than. That is something else that you would look for in addition problems. If you were talking about reading a word problem, you might see these words, plus, this plus that, the sum of this plus that. Ooh, add, that's another one. Thank you very much. Add this to that. These all mean the same thing. All right, I think maybe now we're getting warmed up a little bit. The next word I'm curious about, if I were to ask for words for subtraction, words that you could plug in for subtraction, or words that mean subtract. Yes, there you go. Thank you very much. Minus is a good one. Take away. Thank you very much. Take away. Subtract. There you go. Thank you. Any others that you can think of? Ooh, less than. There you go. Ooh, less than. Oh, I got too many S's there. Less than. Any others? Ooh, the difference. I like it. You guys, the difference. I hope I'm spelling these correctly because my brain is still on a little bit on break. All right. For subtraction, we have minus, take away, subtract, less than, difference. Very good. How many do you have left? Absolutely. Those are all good words. Let's just review a few more. Let me get a different color here. How about, of course, this symbol? What are some synonyms for this symbol? Times. Sure, now we're getting warmed up. Multiply. There you go. Times, multiply. Oh, yes, of does mean times. The word of, if you're looking for a percent of a number, you would multiply it. Or a fraction of a number. Yes. Oh, you're close. Not quotient, but there's one other word. Not quotient, but it's another word. I'm looking for a specific word here. Starts with a P. It's the answer to a multiplication. Oh yeah, there it is. Product. The product. Okay. Yes, the product. That's the one. And that leaves us multiplied by. Someone had said that earlier. My brain is not kicked into gear yet. Multiplied by, okay? Or multiples of, or sometimes people even say double and triple. That means you multiply by 2 or multiply by 3. All right, last one, of course. Last one. What about this symbol? Give me some synonyms for this symbol. Yeah, you knew it. Divide. Good. I saw somebody already write it. Quotient. The quotient is an answer to a division problem. Divided by. Divided by. Divided by. There's another one. Oh yeah, dividend. Those are all words that we use when we are dividing. Absolutely. And there's one more word that if you're reading a word problem, if you share some, yes, equally, there you go, Carolina, like groups, shared equally or equal groups, equal groups. All right, there we go. These are some words that you might see in word problems, but I'm not going to be that mean that I'm going to just jump right back into word problems for you. We're going to use some of these words to actually write some numerical expressions. Numerical expressions. And what I mean by numerical expressions is just using numbers to actually make a problem, okay, to write a problem. So if I were to say 5 added to 3, what would that look like? 5 added to 3. 5 added to 3. You don't even have to give me the answer, just 5 added to 3. 5 added to 3, or you could say 3, and then you want 5 more than that. You don't even have to write the answer. All I want is the expression. This is an expression, a numerical expression. You're only using numbers to write an expression. That's all I want is just the expression. You don't even have to solve it. That's how we're going to roll today for now. How about this one? Let's see what it looks like. I've got, how about 5 more minutes than a half an hour? 5 more minutes than a half an hour. What might that one look like? 5 more minutes than a half an hour. Well, if you know a half an hour is 30 minutes, you have 5 more minutes than that. So you don't even have to solve it. I'm not looking for the answer of 35. I'm just looking for the expression. So these are expressions, okay? These are numerical expressions, okay? And then tomorrow, we're going to actually get to some algebraic expressions. But for today, we're just going to talk about numerical expressions. How about 9 candy bars shared equally amongst 3 people? 9 candy bars shared equally amongst 3 people. Ooh, shared equally. Equal groups. Equally. We're looking for equal groups or equally shared. Shared equally. Okay, so there's your division. You're going to share it equally. That means you have to divide it. Yes, there you go. 9 divided by 3. Yes, and if you were just learning that the division on your keyboard is going to be that backslash. Okay, you can use the backslash for division. Yes, there you go. 9 divided by 3. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Thank you very much. And that one was 9 candy bars shared equally, okay, amongst 3 people. How about 4 times 7? 4 times 7? What would that look like as an expression, a numerical expression? Just 4 times 7. 4 times 7. There you go. Multiply it. I'm looking for the multiplication sign. That's it. Multiplication. 4 times 7. Multiplication sign. There you go. 4 times 7. That's great. I'm not even asking for an answer yet. How about 8 minus 3? 8 minus 3. There you go. Just the subtraction sign. Very good. Thank you very much. Just making sure you guys are kicking your brains back into gear this morning. Starting slow, and we'll work our way up. How about the product of 4 and 9? The product of 4 and 9. Not the answer, just the numerical expression. Yes, product. There it is. There's the product. Multiply. Multiply. There's that product. Product means multiply. There you go. The product of 4 and 9 means multiply it. You're right. Okay, good job. Let's see what else I got here. I got a couple more. How about the quotient of 36 and 12? The quotient of 36 and 12. Leave these up here if you need to see it. The quotient of 36 and 12. Yes, there you go. Good job, Angel. Oh, all these A names right in a row. Yes, there you go. Good job. 36 divided by 12 is the quotient. Let's see. Ooh, I'm going to give you a hard one. So 2 steps. 2 steps. Let's see if you can get this one. Okay. How about 10 erasers decreased by 2? 10 erasers decreased by 2. Decreased. I didn't have that one on here, but it's a nice word. Decreased. Yes, decrease means less than. It means take away. It means you don't have as many as you did before. Decrease means you're subtracting. Decrease. Okay, so decreased. There you go. So if you have decreased for subtraction, what's a word you could use for addition? Another word that's the opposite, an antonym of decrease. Yes, increase. Increase is the word I was looking for. Increased, okay, or increased by. Okay, increased. Increased also means add, or you're going to have more than what you started with. Okay, here's your next term, or your next one, your next, how about, let's see, 4 times the quantity, ooh, this one's pretty tricky. 4 times the quantity of 2 plus 8. 4 times the quantity of 2 plus 8. Oh, now I took everybody's mind. 4 times, and all I want is a numerical expression, 4 times the quantity of 2 plus 8. The quantity of 2 plus 8 means that you would actually have to put that in parentheses before you could do it. 4 times the quantity, the whole thing. Quantity means the whole thing, this whole 2 plus 8. And you wouldn't solve it, you would just write the numerical expression like this. Okay, there you go, just like that, Shunashi and Eliana, thank you very much. And if you recall, a number right next to a parentheses also means multiply. You don't even have to put the little X in between it, okay? Mason, I'm glad you put that little star there because that's going to lead us into one of the review. Just say it once so the lag calms down. Ooh, okay, sorry. You know what? I am going to pause the chat. There you go. Sorry, I forget that sometimes the chat also causes lag. This does lead us to one more part about numerical expressions. And this part is about, fix this, there we go, clean slate. Something that we have learned already, what about this numerical expression? If I said 4 to the 2nd power, what does that mean to do? just tell me what that means to do. If I have 4 to the second power, oh, hopefully I put it on host. I did. Okay, yes, thank you, Kaya. It just means you multiply 4 2 times. So 4 times 4. You multiply the base number by itself. This is also a numerical expression because it does tell you that you are multiplying and that you are doing something here, and it expresses a way that you're going to solve a problem. Yes, the little number, the exponent, tells you how many times to multiply the base number. Now, if I were to flip this around and say 2 to the 4th power, then what do you have? Yes, Jesse, thank you very much. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. All right, very good. That means you're multiplying 2 4 times. And when you actually solve it, this would be the same as the other. All right, now I'm going to try something a little different today. And because you guys have already brainstormed, and I am going to give you an assignment on iReady. Hopefully, teachers, I think, are we, oh, we'll do, yes, we're good, literature, yes, good. Teachers, are we good to go with that? Because each teacher has to assign that separately. Thank you, Ms. Digby. I appreciate it. Mr. Hartman, is the assignment hard? No, it does remind you about some of your vocabulary, and it will also remind you about exponents, and it's going to count towards minutes, kind of some more iReady minutes, but the assignment is on iReady. It's very specific. It is about exponents and numerical expressions, just knowing how to, when to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. It is not a test. It is a review. Ooh, let's see if we do that. Is the assignment hard? No, I don't think so. Not if you're keeping up with us. Is it a test? No. It is practice. It is minutes. It is called, that's a good question. What is it called? Oh. Oh, that's right. I don't think I even did mine yet. Let me make sure I have mine up here ready to go. It is called, here I was worried about everybody else and I forgot to do it myself. Well, isn't that about right? Numerical expressions with exponents. That is what it's called. And then let's see, I click assign lesson to the class and I pick my class and I will schedule it for right now today. And
cool. All right. Just a quick word, just to kind of build on what Mrs. Bragg was saying. You know, we can see who is doing what, which, if I'm being honest, is an increasing source of frustration for me, because I can see a majority of people are doing what they need to be doing, but then there's also probably at any given time about a half dozen "Are you still there?" messages on the screen. Now, sometimes I know that's people just thinking and taking time. Most often it's people stepping away from their computers and not doing the assignment during the time that we give it to you. Here is the sequence of events that unfolds when you start stepping away from computers and getting distracted and doing different things. We've given you this time to do these assignments so you don't have to do them later. If you do them during the assigned time, then the work doesn't stack up, and then your time later in the day is your own. What happens, especially in a situation like this, when we're not all together in the classroom, you just don't do it. You don't finish. Some people do, but there are a number, at least from what I've seen in my own classroom over the past few months, you just never go back and finish. So I know it's easy to get distracted, and I know if we were all in the classroom together, there's some distractions that wouldn't be there ordinarily. So I get it. It's a weird situation. We've been over that a million times. But one thing that you can control is the assignment that we're working on when you're given the time to do it. So if you're using that allotted time, you won't have anything to do later on. And then one assignment becomes two, becomes three, becomes four. And then suddenly you're throwing your hands up in the air because you're like, I'm too far behind and I can't catch, I can't catch up. Well, I would, there's a host of reasons, but if I'm being honest, that's just because you've gotten distracted and for whatever reason, you just make sure that you're using the time that we give you to complete the assignments. If we do that, everybody should be okay. So, all right, now that I am done with that, before we get started, I want to talk about we're going to be working on narrative writing for a little bit longer, for I believe two more weeks. And then we're going to switch to expository writing, which is nonfiction writing. So what we've seen is the reading assessment that we gave before we left for winter break. I'm going to be going over my class with that, and because we spend a lot of time. That's twice this year that we've taken those 2-week blocks to do these assessments. But I haven't really explained to you why we're doing that. We've spent a lot of time taking those assessments, and one area across the board, like all through 6th grade, that we need work is expository writing. Like you can see it, there's all these wonderful charts and graphs, but whenever you see a red line, like a pretty lengthy red line, that means we've got issues in terms of what we know. And when it comes to expository writing, which is that nonfiction writing, and that we've got work to do. So we'll eventually get there, but we're going to, over the next 2 weeks, we're going to finish our conversation on narrative writing, what it is, how to do it, strategies to use, and all of that. So I'm going to share my screen here in just a moment. All right. Ooh, I made a lot of slides in the past couple weeks, apparently. All right, let's share this screen and then we'll go ahead and get started. No join PD today, not today. All right. All right, so 3 pluses and a zap. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So we had been talking about using embedded transitions and the difference between sort of your standard transition words and phrases. And then we started talking about dynamic symmetry, which are, that's just 3 other ways, strategies that you can use to transition from one thought to another, one paragraph to another. But today we're going to spend some time talking about something called 3 pluses and a zap. So what do you think this means? Could be a rap group, could be the title of Guy Ritchie's next movie. And if you don't know who Guy Ritchie is, look him up. I love his movies. But there are 3 pluses and a zap. So what does that mean? That's what we're going to talk about today. So 3 pluses. Now these things should look familiar. So what I'm going to have you do, and I'll write all this down in graphic detail here in a few minutes, but you are going to take one of the 2 narrative essays that you've done and you're going to do some revising. So I'm going to give you a series of questions that you're going to look at and apply to your own work. And again, these things should look familiar. We're going to review the vocabulary and what specifically I'm looking for. And we're going to do some revision over the coming weeks. So the 3 pluses, what are they? Well, the first plus is, does it zoom to a narrow focus? So let me come to this word zoom. I'm using zoom as a verb, not a noun. We're not talking about Zoom. We're not talking about the platform that we're on right now. Does it zoom? Does it come in to a narrow focus? So we had talked about the umbrella focus and the location focus. And is your essay focused enough? The location zoom is it occurs all in one location at one time. And then the umbrella one, which is I'm trying to find a gift for my mom for her birthday or for Christmas. And so it can move from location to location, but it's unified by one specific task or one specific goal. So that's an umbrella focus, and then we have the location focus. So the first plus is you're looking to see if it has a narrow focus. That's number 1. Number 2, does it use intermittent reflections? So intermittent reflections. Go ahead in the chat. I don't know if the chat is open or not, but when we talk about intermittent reflections, what is that and how do we use it? What is that and how do we use it? So go ahead. I'll be looking for responses here in the chat. So when we talk about using intermittent reflections in our writing, what are we talking about here? Oop, here. And maybe the chat is not open. Okay, chat should be open now. But when we talk about using intermittent reflections, what does that mean? What does that mean? And for some reason, I'm not seeing any responses, which leads me to believe that this update has messed me up because I can't figure this out. Anyway. All right, cool. Well, hey, you're students. Why would you want to participate in a lesson, right? So intermittent reflections, let me handle this for you. Intermittent reflections are those feelings that we discuss periodically. So it's almost like the narrator's voice. So again, when I did my whole middle school tale, when I caught the lava rock to the face, throughout that particular piece, I talk about what I was feeling, how nervous I was going into that classroom full of 9th graders, and like how embarrassed I was after I took the rock to the face. But you're using those intermittent reflections, that narrator voice of yours, to sort of guide the reader through the writing as you go. And of all the tools that we use, that's probably one of the most entertaining. And it's definitely the one that keeps your audience plugged in as you go. So are you zooming? Plus number 1, are you zooming to one specific focus, either a location zoom or an umbrella zoom? Are you using, plus number 2, are you using intermittent reflections? So is the narrator of the story, which is you, are you periodically talking about how you feel in a certain situation? That's number 2. Number 3, does it use embedded transitions? So as 6th graders, we're obviously a little more evolved, a little more experienced as far as writing, or at least we should be, or many of us are. And so a hallmark of more advanced writing is you are embedding those transitions. So I talked about, I am by no means a handy person, but I have done a little bit of drywall work. And like I said, if you look at the wall in your room or where you're at, what you see is just one continuous wall. You don't see any cracks. You see texture on the wall, but you don't see seams, you don't see cracks. That's because it's taped over, it's puttied, it's sanded, and then it's covered with the texture, and then it just looks like one big wall. But when in reality, it's actually all of these different pieces of drywall that are bound together by tape and putty and all that type of things. So that is sort of an embedded transition. And that's the hallmark of a more advanced writer. You're not just saying first, next, finally, last. Those are all appropriate transition words. And depending on what you're writing, those transition words are absolutely good and applicable and should be used. But when you're telling a story, sometimes it just ends up being a little dry. So those are the 3 pluses. Does it zoom to a narrow focus? Does it use intermittent reflections? And 3, does it use embedded transition? So those are the 3 pluses. Now the zap. What irrelevant information needs to be cut? So let's come back to this word irrelevant. What does irrelevant mean? If you've heard that word before, usually there's sort of a snide tone to it. Well, that's irrelevant. Irrelevant means unnecessary. You don't need it. So when we talk about irrelevant information that needs to be cut, and inevitably there is in any piece of writing that you have, unless it moves the story forward or reveals character, at least in a narrative sense, then it doesn't need to be there. So that's the information that can go. So 3 pluses and a zap. So what I want to do now, let me check the chat here to see if that is 2 new messages. Okay, cool. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, three rights and a wrong. Yeah, there you go, Abel. Well, wrong just mean we got to get rid of it. Relationship. Okay, cool. All right. So these are questions. I want to take a look at some of the pieces of writing that we've looked at before, so we can kind of do this together. But eventually, we're going to get to the point where I'm going to be asking, or your teachers are going to be asking, these 3 questions. And these are questions that you should be able to answer about your own writing. So it's one of those things where it doesn't make sense. I'm sort of wasting your time. We're wasting each other's time if you aren't able to answer these questions with some degree of certainty. So what pluses are present? So we know that there's 3 of them. Does it zoom to a narrow focus? Are there intermittent reflections? And are there embedded transitions? So you should be able to answer those 3 questions with some competency, which means that you should be able to look at it and go, yes, no, yes, 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 no, yes, 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 and then be able to point to specific examples. Second question, if they are not present, where could they be inserted? So for instance, intermittent feelings. Let's say that you have a fairly well-structured piece, but the narrator isn't really laying out how he or she feels. So, and those are great opportunities for drama, for comedy. So it's just, that's why you write, to evoke some type of reaction in your reader. And those are the times where you can get somebody to audibly respond in some way, like, oh, or laugh out loud, or do whatever. But if they are not present, where could they be inserted? So for example, if I'm doing a piece and there's no intermittent feelings, where could I put those? Between which paragraphs, or in the middle of a paragraph, where can I put them? And then the last one is, what information should be eliminated? So what information isn't serving the story? What can you do away with? And I think when I was coming through school, high school, college, middle school, the whole thing, it was sort of, right, well, just the more you write, the better the grade that you're going to get. And that's not true. Your job as a writer, first and foremost, is to be clear and easily understood. And anybody with any kind of teaching experience, anybody who's graded an essay, can just glance at one and just read through it, just skim through it very quickly, and tell whether or not a student has put forth any kind of effort. Like, are they just droning on? Are they just trying to, like, crush me with volume? Or is it a well-structured, thoughtful, this is somebody who has spent a good deal of time thinking about what they wrote before they wrote it? And you can tell when you've been doing it long enough. All right, so 3 pluses and a zap. 3 pluses and a zap. So what I'm going to do right now is, let me come to all right. Let's take a look at this particular piece here. Oh, no, come on, man. I'm not trying to do that. You make things so difficult. All right, let's do this. Okay, take a look at this piece here. And we are going to be looking for whether or not we have the three pluses and the zap. So let me do this. And where did my other screen go? Cool. There we go. All right. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to read this piece here. So it's just a sample of student writing. And then I want you to, oh, no. I have to. All right. Apparently there is a very loud helicopter above my house right now. So my apologies if you can hear that. All right. I want you to read this piece over here to the left, A Special Day Time at the State Fair. And I want you to go through and answer this question. Does it zoom to a narrow focus? Does it use intermittent reflections? Does it use embedded transitions? So in the chat, I want you to write yes, yes, no, no, yes, no, yes, yes, whatever. So in order, so +1, +2, +3. So in the chat, after you've read the story, go ahead and write your responses in the chat, and I'll keep an eye on those if we're still able to do that. Yeah, for right now, I mean, there are certainly more pluses, but these are the three that we want to focus on right now. Good. Thank you, Isabella. So what we're doing, if you stepped away from your computer or you had it off or whatever, Xavier, thank you. Good, good. I appreciate the input. We're reading the story there on the left, and then we are answering the questions on the right. So does it zoom to a focus? Does it use intermittent reflections? Does it use embedded transitions? Good. For those of you who are reading and responding, thank you. And I will give us four more minutes to finish up with this. Okay, yes, no, yes. Alexis, that's funny. Okay, Alyssa Olson. I see no, but I don't know. Is that for +1, +2, +3? Okay, we've got about two more minutes. 2 more minutes. And then you know, maybe I should teach because I've been doing so much of it myself lately. Maybe we might make a departure and work on complaint letters. I've just had serious customer service issues over the past couple weeks. So I've just been furiously writing these letters, just saying, and I'm pretty laid back when it comes to stuff like, but there's just been some stuff that's been so over the top that I'm like, yeah, I got to sit down and write a letter. Those are a lot of fun to write. I wrote one when I was in college. True story, by the way. I wrote one when I was in college. I had a pair of Birkenstocks, which are really old, clunky sandals. They're almost as bad as Crocs, but not quite. But I had a pair and they broke. I only had them for like a week or two, and then one of them fell apart. So I wrote this letter to the people at Birkenstock and didn't think anything of it. I just said, man, and it was fun. I was trying to be kind of a smart aleck, but make the point that, hey, I love your shoe, but just disappointed. And a couple weeks later, I got home from class. I was still in college at the time, so you pretty much broke the entire. And I got home, and there were a couple of boxes on my porch, and Birkenstock sent me 3 new pairs of sandals. So I was impressed. So sometimes when you talk about why do I need to learn how to write, sometimes you get stuff. And the more eloquent you are when you're stating your case, they sometimes they'll pay attention. So yeah, complaint letters are fun. Okay, it is 9:51. Been blabbing. So let's go through this very quickly, and then we'll get an idea of the 3 pluses, and this will give us a little bit of familiarity with how to use this. So does it zoom to a narrow focus? The short answer is no, it does not. And why is that? So we have 2 types. We have 2 types of focus: the umbrella focus and the location focus. So the location, we know we're at the state fair, but we have some issues. The first one is there is a lot going on in this essay. So what I mean is the author of this particular piece would do better to just focus on one ride. So late one October afternoon, I'm just going to read briefly here and I'll show you what I mean. Late one October afternoon, my friend Donnie and I went to the state fair. His mom and grandmother drove us. On the way there, we stopped to get a Coke and some crunchy cheese crackers. I knew we were going to have a great time. Okay, so I know we're going to the state fair. The author is going to the state fair at this point, but I really don't know what's happening. When we got there, embedded transition. So that gives us the answer to number 3, which is yes. We stood in line behind a lady with twins that were 2 years old. They were really cute little boys. They tried to get everything, it should be, out of their mother's pocketbook because they were so bored. As soon as we got into the park, we went to ride the roller coaster. It went really fast. We got scared. It seemed to go faster and faster when we went straight down and around the curves. We got off that and went straight to the log ride. Okay, so here we're already transitioning into, even though the author is doing, they're doing it right. so that particular paragraph is about, standing in line, and then they get to the roller coaster, starting a new paragraph, and then talking about the log ride. So there's some good things going on there, but we're transitioning to a different ride. And then that ride was a lot of fun. Then we rode the vortex, and it was huge and real exciting. So almost a laundry list of things that these two did at the state fair, but we're really not getting into, it's not focused on one thing. So if it was like a better, so let's say for the sake of throwing it out there, one of them is nervous about riding roller coasters. And so let's say Donnie is not all in on the roller coasters, very tentative. And his friend spends all of that time convincing him, hey man, we have to ride this roller coaster. We have to do this. We have to get on. And the friend is unsuccessful at getting Donnie on at various points, but then Donnie finally relents, goes on the roller coaster, scared out of his mind at first, but then, has a great time. It's like, wow, why didn't I do that sooner? It's focused on one thing, or it's focused on one ride. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that dramatic, although that would be great, but it's focused on one thing. And this, we've just got a series of, the author's just talking about a series of rides in very shallow, language. It went really fast. We got scared. And those are examples of telling, not showing. And so those are the moments, it went really fast. We got scared. Those two sentences right there tell, they don't show. There is so much ground, just in those two sentences alone, so much that you could do in terms of showing and not telling. But the short answer is, does it zoom to a narrow focus? The answer for +1 is no. Does it use intermittent reflections? I would say no. You could make a case for yes, but if those people who think or who disagree and think that it uses intermittent reflections, quote the text for me. So type a sentence, or if there is an example of an intermittent reflection, please type it in the chat. I'd like to, maybe I missed it. But I'm curious to see if anybody thinks that there's intermittent reflections here. I see one potentially. We got scared, I guess, is potentially one. I was mad at them for staying so long. Pretty weak. Yeah, pretty weak. You could argue that there are intermittent reflections, but it's weak. It is a very, very weak case. So I could go either way on +2, but I would lean more toward no. So I think it's there a little bit. It's in this embryonic sort of stage, and you have to look really carefully for it. And that's one of those things, if you're really having to hunt like we're doing now, then you probably didn't do your job as a writer. So that's not a commentary on you as a person. It's just just one of those things. It's about the work. It's not about it was so sweet. I drank my Coke in about 2 seconds. Well, that's more of like reporting. So it's not sort of like so Zanai, I guess what I'm saying here is the author is reporting. That's all factual stuff for the most part. It was sweet. I drank my Coke in about 2 seconds. Probably some hyperbole there, but it is, you know, if it was sort of like the Coke was so sweet, sweeter than I'm used to. I didn't really like it, but my friend bought it for me and I didn't want to throw it away because I didn't want to offend him or something like that. That's more of an intermittent reflection. So the narrator sort of talking about what they did and how they did it, that's more of um, yeah, just kind of the who, what, when, where, why, how. That's not. I just put yes because I wasn't sure. I mean, the author does state some feelings, but not really. So yeah, Angie, like I said, you could really, you could make a case, but I think it would be a weak case for yes for number two. But I would take either. Like I said, technically there are some examples in there of intermittent feelings, but they're weak at best. Three, does it use embedded transitions? Answer is yes. So in the author actually does a pretty good job of the embedded transitions here. Late one October afternoon, on the way there, when we got there, as soon as we got into the park, we got off that ride and went straight to the log ride after we ate. So yeah, there's some actually the embedded transitions are actually fairly strong in this piece. So doesn't give us the first, next, last, even though it's written very sequentially. The two main characters in this piece are sort of going from one ride to the next. It would have been real easy to sort of gum that up and say first, next, then. So the author here actually did a good job of the embedded transitions. So the story moves pretty quickly. The language is simple, probably a little too simple, but the transitions are actually there. So for me, bottom line would be yes, no, no. That would be the way that I would go with this. But again, +2 would be, you know, we could have some conversation about that. And writing is one of those things that is not, you know, where it sort of departs from other disciplines. You can have a lot of conversation about it. So there are some things that I think you can point to and say, excuse me, yeah, there's evidence of a narrow focus here, here, and here. There's evidence of embedded transitions here, here, and here. But like that +2, the intermittent reflections, sometimes there's going to be things like that where there's going to be conversation, and that's okay. Like it makes some people uncomfortable, but I love those conversations because you get to build a case. You kind of get to make a courtroom out of an essay, which I think is always kind of interesting. All right, well, it is 10:02, and there is no homework tonight. But what I want you to do is I want you to find, we've done 2 narrative essays so far. I want you to take a few minutes and just find one, preferably the weaker of the 2, because we're going to be doing some revision. We're going to be doing 3 pluses and a zap. And I would like to, when I'm doing these writing lessons over the next couple of weeks, the next 2 weeks, I would like to take examples of what you're doing and then discuss them with the whole group. I love, those are the times. It's great for the author, and it's great for the other people in class too, because they get to see what other people are doing. And a lot of the things that we're doing in our writing, like if you're doing it, I can pretty much guarantee that there are quite a few other people out there who are doing the same thing. So those, sometimes I know people have a hard time sitting through them. I get it, but if you can get through it, you can usually get something out of the deal, get what you need. So what I want you to do right now is take a look at the 2 essays, the 2 narrative essays that you've done so far this year. choose one, which preferably the weaker one, because I don't want a completely polished piece to start with. The more work it needs, probably the better. So no judgment, no, and like I said, I'm more concerned about you understanding the process. You know, I'm not looking for what a great writer you are from the jump. I want to know that you know the strategies. I want you to know whether a piece of writing is good or not and why. That's what I'm after. I'm after the thought process. I'm not after the polished piece, at least not at this point. So we did the holiday narrative, and then we did the other one was it an embarrassing? Wasn't it like an embarrassing moment, I believe? Let me double check on that. So it was the holiday narrative, and let me find what the other essay was, so that way you know, and either one of those two will work. Mr. Mullen, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, what time? I'm basically done right now. So they just need to find their essays for, oh, the autobiographical incident. So there's the autobiographical incident or the holiday narrative. Either of those two will work. So whichever of those you feel is the weakest, grab that one, and we're going to do some revisions starting tomorrow. Ms. Small, I'm going to give them a break. Do you want me to bring them back at 10:15 or 10:20?
Either one works. 10:20 is good.
What's that?
10:20 is good.
Okay. Yeah, we'll keep it on the 20. So once you have the essay, go ahead and we'll say reading begins at 10:20. Once you determine the essay that you want to revise, I would look it over for the 3 pluses in the ZAP. We're going to have those, conversation about that over the next 2 weeks. But it might be worth looking at and seeing, are you adding intermittent reflections? Is there a zoom, either an umbrella or a location zoom? And then is there anything there that doesn't belong there? So thank you for listening. I did a lot of talking today. Over the next few days, over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing a lot of more hands-on stuff. I want you guys digging in to your own writing, because that's where we get better as writers. So autobiographical incident or the holiday narrative, either of those two. So just choose one, and then reading begins at 10:20. So we'll be on break until then. If you didn't finish your numerical expressions with exponents assignment and iReady, now might be a good time to clean that up or work on that as well. But officially on break until 10:20. All right, thanks for listening, guys. I appreciate you. Vincent, for some reason I'm having trouble with the chat, but yeah, that's fine. To answer your question, Vincent, that's fine. And guys, I'm here. We're on break officially until 10:20. But if anyone wants to send me a message, if anyone has a question about anything writing related, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'm here to answer questions for you if you should have any. Oh, Rayla, just that we're on break until 10:20. So just find one of, I don't know when your computer froze, but you're either the autobiographical incident or the holiday narrative that we did, like the Thanksgiving one. You can choose either of those two, but just choose an essay that you're going to do some more work on, that you're going to revise. That was basically it. And then if you had any questions about the lesson itself, I'm here in answering questions. You are most welcome, my friend. Hector, that's a very good question, Hector. How can you tell if something is an intermittent reflection? It is there is an interior and exterior. So try, I'm gonna try to explain this as succinctly as I can. But an intermediate reflection is a narrator's interior voice. So it's not something that's happening outwardly, it's something that's happening inwardly. So what I mean by that is, like, if I'm saying, well, we went here and I went out to my mailbox and apparently somebody had taken a baseball bat to my mailbox at night. And so I picked it up off the ground, I put it back. And then the author starts talking about, and then I wondered, and then I thought, oh my gosh, what if there was mail in that mailbox and it's gone? I've been expecting a package and maybe I didn't get that and I'm super bummed. And what's wrong with people? People are idiots. Why are they so destructive? Why are they against me? Why are they doing all these things? And so the narrator goes from describing the mailbox on the ground and what it looks like and how it happened, everything that's happening outwardly. An intermittent reflection is when an author is expressing their feelings, or it's something that's happening inside their brain, or it's a conversation that they're having with themselves, not describing what's going on around them. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but an intermittent reflection is just a narrator or an author expressing what's happening, what they're thinking inside their head. And that's where it's a great, effective strategy. And some of the probably your favorite novels, like if you were to go back and look, probably the funniest or the most dramatic parts of those novels involve intermittent reflections. So I don't know if that helps, but that was a great, fantastic question, Hector. But let's talk about espresso machines, which is what I got for Christmas. So I am learning that is a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was just going to start cranking out cappuccinos and espressos and lattes. And there is definitely a science to it. So I'm learning. I did find a particular oat milk that is really good. Oh, cool. Your dad has one, Isabella? I hope he knows how to use it better than I do at this point, but I'm getting there. And then the thing that trips me out is how they do the foam art, how they're able to make hearts and leaves and all of that stuff. I drop my milk in there and it just looks like some type of algae bloom or something. So Alexis, it was good. I hope yours was good as well. It was restful. Tried to take a couple of little trips, went to San Luis Obispo, San Diego. So it was good.
I'm going to share my screen with you. We're going to start with a new story today. We're going to be looking at this for the next 3 days. It's called The Shrimp and the Four Secrets. So I think it'll be an exciting story, something you can identify with, make a connection to. This has been assigned to you in literary footprints by your teachers. So I think anyways, if not, it will be. And we're going to read it today. This is a story, it's a funny little story, and you can kind of tell. Remember at the very, very beginning, whenever we start a new book, what do? We make a survey. And on many of these books, the best place to start with a survey, of course, is on the front cover and also the back cover. But the front cover first, then the back cover, then we look through the story itself. And on the front cover, we can tell just by the illustrations that this is going to be a humorous story. We get clues just by looking. It doesn't say that it's a comedy. It doesn't say that it's humorous, but I think you will be able to tell that as we go through that this is a funny story, and it's a funny story I think that you can make a connection. The Shrimp and the Four Secrets. Written by Mark Binder and illustrated by Rupert Van Wyck. Read along with me, and at certain points, we're going to be working on vocabulary strategies, reviewing some of our vocabulary strategies today and tomorrow, and also looking at some inferences. So, Butch Mattingly, the toughest kid in 5th grade, had started charging admission to the playground. If you wanted to play outside during recess, you had to pay him $0.25 a week. If you didn't pay, you didn't play. And if you caused a scene, he'd pound you into the ground. I wonder how long you'd get away with that here at our school. Not long. We were all afraid of Butch, so we paid him every week, and everything was fine until my cousin, Adam, transferred here in October. When Adam heard about the playground tax, he was outraged. "I'm not going to pay that," he said indignantly. "Someone should notify the teachers." "They know," I said. "They're scared of him too." He frowned. "Well, I'm not afraid of him." "What are you going to do?" I asked. "I just won't go to the playground," he said. And he lived up to his word. During recess, he snuck into the lunchroom or the library, or if a teacher made him go outside, he stayed close to the building and blended in with the bricks. Okay? So let's look at this. What I want you to do, I want you to get out your whiteboard and get out a pen. And I'm going to do a new share. And let's see if this works. I want you to go on page 3. I want you to find on page 3, I'm going to show it to you in just a second, but I want you to look at page 3 and find the hardest word, the word that you think, the best word, the word maybe you don't know, or the best word that starts with the letter O, and I want you to write it on your whiteboard and then share it with me, okay? Okay, let's do it right now. Oh, sorry. Okay, this page right here, find the page or the word that starts with O that you think is the most challenging or you believe is the best word that starts with O on this page. Then show them to me. I want to see them. Just hold up your whiteboards to your screen, and then I'll be able to see it. This isn't hard. This is easy. Ah, I see outraged. Good. Thank you, Mason. Outraged again, Angie. Good. There's one other one I think that's up there. Outraged. Everybody seems to be coming down with that one. I see about 6 or 7 of you have outraged. Outraged. Good, Liliana. Good, Drake. Everybody seems to be agreeing, like 90% of you are saying outraged. The only other word, well, Kaya, indignantly is a great word, but it doesn't start with O. So we need to make sure it starts with O, okay? The only other word that really starts with O, and this was kind of a loaded one, is the word October. October. You guys know October. Outraged is the word that I was looking for. And so how do we know what outraged means? Okay? Now, when we use our vocabulary strategies, the one that is most useful, you have to know them all, but the one that's most useful is the one where we read around or read through and then substitute the word with a word that we think might work and then keep on reading, okay? It's the substitution strategy, and it really hinges on whether or not we can find a synonym for it, okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to read through it and look for clues in the context to see whether or not we can figure out what this means. We were all afraid of Butch, so we paid him every week, and everything was fine until my cousin, Adam, transferred here in October. When Adam heard about the playground tax, he was outraged. Okay, he was blank. I'm not gonna pay that, he said indignantly. Someone should notify the teachers. They know, I said, they're scared of him too. He frowned, well, I'm not afraid of him. Okay, now there are some clues in the context. Do you see them? Okay, on your whiteboard, if you see a clue, I want you to write it down for me and hold it up so I can see it, okay? What is the clue? There is a word that might work as a synonym, okay? We can also make a connection with Adam and say, he might feel this way because this is how I would feel, right? So by looking at that, using the context, we might be able to make a connection to what this means. Or we might look a little bit further and see a synonym that's closely related. All of these are clues, okay? There's also, just by looking at the context, what would you say that outraged means? Go ahead and write that on your whiteboard. What does outraged mean? Very, very mad, right, Chloe? Good, that's exactly right. It means that you are so mad that you can't contain it. Okay, angry. Good job, Jaslyn. Angry, right. Super angry, I like that. Yeah, we understand. Remember when we talked about emotions? Mr. Hartman was talking about this a little bit this morning, but when we talk about emotions, right, they're reflected in the writing that there are shades of the emotion. Anger is one emotion, but there's many words that talk about how we feel angry, and one of them is outraged. There's another way that we can figure out what outraged means as well. Okay? Okay, outraged. Now, what do you notice about this word? See, if we can't figure out the word from the context, which we did, but if we can't, then we have to look closer at the word itself and break it into parts. So if we were to break this word in part, we would go like that, wouldn't we? Out. And then rage, maybe we know. And then D is another part. It's a suffix. It's part of a suffix. It's actually ED, but it's confusing because the E there of the word rage drops off, and then the ED is replaced by another E from ED. So we have outraged, right? So what does out mean? What does rage mean? And what does the ED means? Well, the ED means it happened already. It's already finished. It's something which took place. It happened in the past. ED on the end is a suffix, and anytime we see it, it means it happens in the past. It already happened. Rage means to be angry, so angry you have to express it. And the out means to express outwardly, his anger. Okay? I do not have this down, the share thing, as well as I'd like. Okay, so now we know what outraged means. Let's go to the next page and continue reading. That winter, he'd gotten a new bright red down-filled parka that made him look like a tomato. Butch spotted him our very first day back. Hey, Shrimp, you owe me some money. Adam was saved when the bell rang. He raced inside and avoided Butch for the rest of the afternoon. After school, he ran home, dropped his coat into a heap, and rushed into the attic where Uncle Morris lived. Uncle Morris was a short man who always wore a starched shirt and crisply pressed slacks. If you didn't know who he was, you'd probably think that he'd made his living as one of Santa's elves. But for many years, he was better known as Micro Morris, the world's smallest professional wrestler. Uncle Morris, Adam said, when you were younger, you fought against guys who were 3 or 4 times. Oops, sorry. Who were 3 or 4 times your size, and you always won. How did you do it? Uncle Morris hesitated. Well, you know, wrestling is fixed, right? It's showbiz. Adam looked dejected. So it's all set up? I wouldn't go that far, Uncle Morris said. I still had to know the moves. He got a faraway look in his eye. Okay, I want you to look at page 5. Okay? I want you to look at page 5. And I want you to find the best word that starts with D this time. The best word that starts with D. This is going to be super easy because there aren't that many words. There's really only one word that fits. What word am I looking for? The word that starts with D. Find it. Write it on your pad. Let me see it. Dejected, that's right. Now I'm starting to see it. Right, dejected. Dejected. So let me ask you something. If we're using the strategy of reading around, and you can make a connection, because we're talking so far, every word we've looked at so far has been an emotion word, right? How you feel. So that makes making connections easier. We ought to be able to figure out what the emotion, what the feeling is by just reading around it and putting in a word. Uncle Morris hesitated. Well, you know wrestling's fixed, right? It's showbiz. Adam looked dejected. So is all set up? What's another word that you think might work for dejected by putting it in there? By substituting it. Using your substitution strategy, what word would you put in for dejected? Okay, write it on your whiteboard, show it to me. Let's go. Oh, I hate it. Worried? Okay, Danielle, it's not a bad guess. Blown away, furious. Alyssa, I can see why you'd say that. That might be a little too strong. Surprised. I think that's a good one, Alexis. Adam looks surprised. So it was all a setup? Does that make sense? It fits, doesn't it? See what other ones we have. We might have some other good ones. Chloe, lift yours up a little higher, please. Surprised? Okay, good. A bit confused. Let's see, who said that? Oh, that's Kaya. Good. Yeah, I think that's right. Shocked, Hector. That's a really good one. Confused. Yeah, you guys are getting it. That's how we do this. And you have to do this all the time. It has to be repeated because I can't teach you all the words you need to know. And Mrs. Bragg can't teach you all the words that you need to know. None of your teachers can. But this is how you teach yourself. Let's go on. The 4 secrets. After a moment, he spoke again. You want to know the 4 secrets to winning a fight? Adam nodded. Number 1, Morris said, holding up his thumb. Relax. He stuck out 2 fingers. Number 2, keep your distance. Get out of the way. He stuck out 3 fingers. Number 3, have a secret weapon. He stuck out 4 fingers. Number 4, show compassion. That's it, Adam said, his voice squeaking. I actually read that wrong. That's it, Adam said, his voice squeaking. Hey, it worked for me, Uncle Morris said. In the lunchroom the next day, Butch walked by Adam and whispered, I'm going to get you, shrimp. Adam could barely finish his lunch after that. In fact, it was amazing that he ever managed to eat 1 bite of his lunch. Adam had always had the weirdest stuff you could possibly imagine. On this particular day, his mom had packed a raw fish sandwich on black bread with a pile of pickled onions and a slathering of incredibly foul-smelling blue cheese. I don't know how he even walked after a meal like that, let alone zipped up his tomato coat and shuffled out of the cafeteria into the bright January sun. Butch was waiting for him outside. You gonna pay up? He rasped. Adam shook his head. A crowd of kids quickly gathered. Then I guess I'll have to squeeze it out of you, said Butch. He grabbed Adam in a bear hug, and Adam's face went wild with fear and pain. And just then, Uncle Morris's words came back to him. Relax. Okay, I want us to look on page number 6 because page number 6 has an extremely important word for you to see. It starts with the letter C. And it is compassion. Compassion. Okay, and what page? That's page 6. I'll do this real quick. The reason why this is an especially important word is it is one of your vocabulary words. Compassion. Okay, now, I think we could read around it and find another word that we could supply, but sometimes you can't. There's not enough context, or the context is too difficult for us to figure out, and we still need to know what the word means, because the word is important. It's key. This is one of the key words for this chapter, in fact. Compassion. So if I can't find the answer for what the word means around the word, the context, I have to look at the word. And the best way to do it is split it into its parts. This time it's split into 2 parts. A prefix, com, C-O-M, which means with. Anytime you see C-O-M at the beginning of a word, it means with. It's a Greek root that means with. And passion means feeling. So compassion literally means with feeling. With feeling, okay? Let's see if that makes sense. Oh, I gotta find it. He stuck out 4 fingers. Number 4, show compassion. In other words, show your feelings. Okay? Let's go to 7. So he relaxed. His body went limp, and he slid right out of his down jacket. He dropped to the ground and left Butch standing in the middle of the playground, squeezing an empty coat. I'm gonna get you, Butch growled, charging after him like a wild animal. Adam thought about number 2, keep your distance. He turned around and ran like the wind around the playground through the empty soccer goalposts and back towards the blacktop. With Butch on his tail, he ran back into the circle of the school children, scooped up his coat, and stopped to catch his breath. Keep going, I yelled. He's coming. Adam shook his head. He had other plans. As Butch caught up with him, Adam hoisted his jacket out in front of him and waved it like a matador's scarlet cape. Toro! Adam shouted. Toro! If Butch had been a bull, Adam might have dodged him quite nimbly. Unfortunately for Adam, when Butch got close enough, he opened his arms wide, lashed onto Adam, and spun him into a bear hug. You're mine now, shrimp, he panted, struggling to catch his breath. He squeezed Adam's stomach, and Adam got a queasy look on his face. That's when it happened. Adam let out a colossal burp, and it came out like green. Wavy green droplets of moisture floated like a moldy stream right into Butch's face. Butch sucked the noxious gas remains of Adam's lunch and stumbled back, coughing and hacking. He fell to one knee and stared at my cousin, who was sitting on the ground. You're disgusting, Butch said. Adam gave him a thumbs up and a weak grin. Somebody in the crowd cheered. The shrimp beat the bully! The shrimp beat the bully! Chant quickly spread. He did not, Butch said. I cut it out. But we didn't. We kept going on until a shrill whistle stopped us cold. It was Adam. Hey, he said, don't say that about my friend Butch. Huh? Butch looked puzzled. We were stunned. Nobody said a thing. You know what my friend Butch told me? Adam said. He said that he's going to stop charging admission to the playground. I did? Butch said. A cheer went up through the playground. I mean, of course I did, Butch quickly said, correcting himself. Can you see how Adam is using the 4 rules that his uncle told him? In fact, Adam continued, he's going to give all your money back. This pronouncement was met with even more cheers. Well, Butch mumbled, I might have spent it all. Okay, Adam quickly said. Butch can't give the money back, but he won't take any more. Adam held out his hand and Butch shook it. Later on, I asked Adam what he was thinking, calling Butch his friend. Rule number 4, he said, show compassion. I nodded, pretending to understand. Would he still have shown compassion if that vile belch hadn't gotten Butch off him? I don't think we'll ever know. What I do know is that everyone played on the playground in peace for the rest of that year. And believe it or not, Adam and Butch really did become the very best of friends. Well, that's a good story. I like it. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. We're going to look. There are 2 words from this story that's going to be on your vocabulary. Oh, sorry. Let me see if I can share them with you. Okay, those 2 words are compassion and colossal. We've already gone over compassion with feeling, or to show somebody or to identify with somebody else's feelings. Colossal means huge. It's not just big, it's huge, okay? We have vocabulary words for you to do. Vocabulary list 7, they've been shared with you. We also have, and I want to show you and share with you as well, a quick writing assignment that goes with the reading. And it's also given to you because I want you to I want to reinforce the idea that when we read narrative, we need to make a connection, emotional connections, okay? When we write narrative, we need to write emotional connections, right? Intermittently sometimes. But we need to write and we need to read when we're dealing with narrative on the level of feelings. So, real quick, I'm going to show you. You also have this, okay? Name, all you have to do is put your name, type it in right there. Question, how do you deal with a classroom bully? Highlight this, okay? And then begin writing. How do you deal with a classroom bully? And I'm talking about you because I'm not asking you what Adam did. I'm asking how you deal with a classroom bully, okay? And just be honest about it. We've all had experiences with bullies. Bullies are, there's bullies in every generation. And so it's a universal thing that we can identify with. Just begin writing. I'm not looking for something large or long, but I am looking for a good short answer, okay? And teachers, it's up to you how much you want to put on this as far as your scoring. But you have until Friday to get this done, I believe. So we have these things right here to do. Right now, you need to do this. But we also have added to your work today the vocabulary slides. And Mrs. Bragg, I don't know if you want to say anything about the vocabulary slides or if you want to go over them tomorrow. I don't know how you want to handle it, but a good number of our vocabulary slides so far are math. Most of them are math, okay?
Yes, I believe I gave 8 math terms, but we went over 4 of them today, just talking about synonyms of those words. And then tomorrow we're going to go over the other 4 that have to do more with expressions. So expressions, terms, coefficients, the ones that we didn't talk about today, just save till tomorrow. But we did go over oh, what were they? Sum, difference, product, and quotient today. So
this was suggestion. But
yeah, tell me, help me.
But the area where it says draw a picture, if they could just instead of drawing, you don't need to think of something in the world, but just draw an example of it, write an example of it when we come to those math things. Because I think those are very, very helpful to help us. In other words, if it's an equation, you're going to write out an equation there. Give an example of what an equation is. Maybe.
Oh yeah, that part. Thank you. Yes. Perfect.
Maybe do them in different colors, like, make the equal sign when we're talking about equation red and everything else green or something. But, do something, give an example when we're talking about math instead of a illustration. I just think there's confusion about that.
Yeah, thank you for help clarifying on the example part. That's probably, yeah, for sure. That definitely helps.
Well, at this point, right now, you have 10 or 11 minutes to work on that. Then we're going to go to our own home rooms to work on some other stuff. If Mrs. Bragg, Mr. Hartman, I don't know if you want to go now to homeroom, if you would want to, but it's up to you guys. But no matter what, you need to do.
We'll give them, I'm in no hurry. Like I wasn't planning until 11. So that'll give them, 12 good minutes to start working on that assignment. And guys, also, this is the classroom bully assignment. It's essentially, it could very well be an autobiographical incident. Like maybe you had an experience with a bully. And so the things that we were talking about in writing earlier, does it have a zoom? Does it zoom to a narrow focus? Are there intermittent reflections? Are there embedded transitions? Do you need to do all of those things for this particular response? No, but it might be good practice for you too. So Keep that in mind as you're doing that assignment.
And guys, as teachers, as we grade them, and we have a certain expectation for each assignment, but if you go up and beyond that assignment, like if you write something and it's really, really good and it's really personal and you just gave your heart to it, I know with me at least, I'm not opposed to giving extra points. If it's worth 4 points and all of a sudden I see somebody pour their heart into it and do a good job and, you know, giving them 6 points or 10 points even. So, you know, put your heart into it. Do a good job. You always have that chance.
Fall in love with your schoolwork, guys. Fall in love with it. Cool. So, Mr. Mullen, you just want him to work on that for the next 10 minutes or so, and then we'll break back to homeroom at 11?
I would, if I was them, I'd have them just to give that short answer, where they make a connection, and then I'd have them go to vocabulary.
Okay. So, guys, I don't know if I were you, because like I said, when it comes to writing, sometimes a lot of people lack direction. Set a timer. If you've got a timer close by, set it for 10 minutes and see what you can do in 10 minutes. So a lot of times that egg timer that Doug Reeves was talking about yesterday, there's a lot of truth to that. Set a timer for 10 minutes and see what you can get done. There is no sentence requirement for the assignment. Sorry, Mr. Mullen, I'm speaking for you.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like 5 is always a good rule, but that's so arbitrary. Like, you know, some people are going to nail it in 5 sentences and other people aren't even going to get started in 5 sentences. So make sure it has a beginning, middle, and end, basically. Well, I just answered that question. There is no sentence requirement for the bully assignment. There is none. So answer it the best you can.
And again, guys, this is about how you handle bullies when you're confronted with one. Okay.
And there are different types of structures that you can use. Like I said, you could sort of go the autobiographical incident, find a specific, the more personal the example, the more that what Mr. Mullen was saying about putting your heart into it, the more specific and personally example, the more someone is going to want to read that. Honest writing is the writing that I think resonates most with people. So, you know, this was the bully. This was my experience with the bully. This was how it was resolved. There's your response. Or if you didn't have a specific example, this is how I identify a bully. This is how you should deal with a bully. And you know what I mean? As long as you have a basic structure to work from, you're going to be fine.
Isabella, yes. That is correct.